Good afternoon, and welcome to the Bio webinar. Thank you for joining us today. We have a great and dynamic discussion for you. So we're going to be talking about the emerging trends in academic and industry collaboration. My name is Erin Lee. I'm a member here at the Biotechnology Innovation Organization. I'm one of many staff members who work year-round for the organization and specifically for the Bio International Convention. So today, like I said, we'll cover a lot of great information. We'll have a great and dynamic conversation with three of our esteemed speakers. We have Steve Sasolka from Autumn, Hassan Naqvi with Johns Hopkins Technology Ventures, and Sunita Malhotra, and she's with AbbVie. So we're going to start off the presentation. And I do want to mention that we will absolutely have this recording available to you, and we will provide the PowerPoint presentation to you after the webinar, as well as we really want this to be a conversation towards the end. So we'll be doing, I'll be doing a 15-minute intro to the Bio International Convention. I want to be clear that we're focused on, how academia and industry collaborate year-round, but very specifically, how are they doing that within the context for their company at the Bio International Convention, which is less than 10 weeks away in Boston. So we want to make sure you have as much information as possible, and then again, talk to our panelists about how they navigate and prepare their teams both internally as they set out for their objectives at the convention. So I feel like we can go ahead and get started. So a little bit about the Bio International Convention and our theme this year. So we're really excited to be back in Boston. Obviously, a ton of innovation. A lot of our member organizations and sponsors are headquartered there. We actually have a series of tours around the Boston and Cambridge area that are available. But we're really excited to have 16,000 people join us from around the world. And we're going to be talking about everything from cutting edge products, therapies, and cures, and how we're making history every day. And again, this event that we're now celebrating 25 years is hosted by the Biotechnology Innovation Organization. So again, here's the agenda. I'm going to spend 15 minutes on the overview of the convention, and then we're going to go ahead and introduce our colleagues, our speakers today after the short presentation. And then we're going to go through a series of questions and then open up the floor to the audience. So our theme this year is Make History, and we chose this because we believe Boston is integral to all of the advances that we've made in the biotech space in healing and fueling and feeding the world. And our organization is really celebrating 25 years. So we began in 1993, so it's very much an exciting time to tell the story about our relationship with our companies and individuals worldwide. So I very much encourage you to visit our website to learn more about those individual stories. And you'll see a lot of that on site at the convention as well. So I like to give kind of a broad view of what the convention looks like. Like I mentioned, we're expecting between 16 and 17,000 people. We have a number of countries and almost all of the United States represented. We have a vast exhibit floor that's nearly sold out. We have a couple of really kind of cutting edge areas on the floor, an emerging innovator zone, which is new this year. And again, you can find information about that on our website. The startup stadium, and then our biggest zone is the bioprocess zone in the manufacturing space. So one of the things I will cover is obviously what the academic footprint looks like at the convention. And, our sponsors and biopharma companies are very much headquartered on the exhibit floor and in the Bio Business Forum, which is where our partnering is located. So partnering is the Bio One-on-One Partnering System is kind of the engine that runs the convention and a number of our international business development events year-round. So what that is an online system that your company would go in and fill out a very detailed profile, and you would send very specific meeting requests. So I'll go into detail about that, but we have about 3,500 companies that are going to be active in the partnering system, and I'm proud to say that there will be approximately, based on last year's data, at least 400 academic institutions represented throughout the convention. So that's really an exciting number. I will give a very high overview of our education. A lot has been published in the last 2 weeks, so very much encourage you to go online, view our tracks, etc., and I'll be giving you a snapshot of what our session tracks look like. So why do people attend bio, and why is that important for how academia and industry collaborate? The number one reason when we survey and talk to our attendees that come back year over year is really about networking and partnering. And I think that that's synonymous with how academia and industry are working together and collaborating and always talking to each other. So our guests today are really going to be talking about how to be the most effective and prepared for that conversation when it happens at the convention. Like I said, our exhibit floor is a really exciting and dynamic space. We'll have 1,800 companies, so definitely encourage you to check that out. Then as far as carving out some time to learn about what is in big pharma and small companies pipeline, I definitely encourage you to check out our listing that'll be available next month about our 15-minute company presentations. So those are very timely. They're very helpful in helping you decide whether you might want to meet with that attendee in the partnering system. So definitely want to check that out. So first, a little bit about our attendee stats. We believe that the convention needs to be representative of the industry, and our goal is to help you address your business challenges, highlight important topics of conversation. I was literally just in a meeting with our vice president of programming, and I have to say that we attract a great audience, largely in part due to our partnering system, but our programming. So what we do with our programming and with our exhibit floor is we really try to align it with all of these different sectors, channels of biotech. So it's very helpful to you in your daily job. But as far as company size, we really run the gamut from very small startups, emerging companies to our large pharma. So you'll be seeing that listing available to you online. And then as far as areas of focus, again, heavily focused on business development, but I will have our colleagues talk about who's coming from out of the tech transfer offices from their university or from AbbVie. Sunita will bringing her perspective about from the C-level down who comes from their business development teams. And so it's good for you to kind of think about who should be in the meetings based on your business objectives. So just a little snapshot about our attendance. So we've been growing a little steadily over the years. We're very excited to be back in Boston, and so we'll expect anywhere between 16,000 and 17,000 attendees. And because of the dynamic nature of our companies, we do see a lot of first-time attendees. We have a good number of new companies, but we have a lot of very faithful companies who understand how this event drives business development, and so they're sending their employees every year. As far as the decision makers and the key leaders that you'll be meeting with, this kind of gives you a breakdown from the director level to the C-level. But essentially, there's representatives from key decision makers in biopharma. So a little bit closer lens on bio one-on-one partnering. It's really the opportunity for you, the academic research institutions, pharmaceutical companies, and investors to meet in one place that travel from around the world. So as far as how the system works and tips and tricks, I'm not going to go into detail about that today. We're going to talk a lot about the planning, but from the system itself, I do encourage you to attend a webinar that I'll be giving you information at the tail end of this presentation. But we are expecting between definitely more than 41,000 meetings this year. So we're out to make history ourselves and set more records in that respect. So we've optimized the system and really we're designing it for you with your business needs in mind. So we really hope that it's a valuable resource to you so that you can get business done efficiently and take that that meeting history and intel back to your organizations. So just a quick snapshot because there's a lot going on within the 4 key days. I will be covering some courses that are very specific to academia and business development after this overview. But really, it's really important that you probably arrive on Sunday, and then we have an action-packed week. Partnering is open Monday through Thursday. We've added an additional time slot this year. We have a really fun reception that's going to be across the street from the convention center this year, and it's going to be us celebrating with you our 25th anniversary. We actually are going to announce our keynote speaker tomorrow, so I want you guys to stay tuned. We're excited about that. It's a she, and she's really dynamic, and you probably will recognize her, so stay tuned for that. Tuesday night, we have our exhibitor hospitality receptions, which are events on the floor. We have Diana Ross in concert. But what I think is important is that there's tech transfer programming, there's courses, and then there's, like I said, the company presentations. There's a lot for you to choose from. So something to think about. I think our panelists are going to go into tips about how to navigate these 4 days with your interests in mind that they've learned over the years. So we have 4 new tracks this year. I just want to give you this quick snapshot of the tracks. We have 19 this year. We have One Health. We have an opioid track that's obviously a very timely conversation. We put a lot of effort into cultivating the smartest and most dynamic speakers. We have a corporate best practices and leadership, but it really, business development continues to be our best track. Definitely want you to check out our translational research track. We have actually somebody from Johns Hopkins speaking as well as Wake Forest. So all of that is available to you online. So back to the really specific for universities and research institutions. So it's really exciting to say that 400 universities participated at the Bio International Convention last year. And that is largely due to partnering, and they're ingrained in our program, et cetera. So it's really an exciting time to continue to see what amazing ideas and innovations are coming out of our universities. And obviously, our big pharmaceutical companies can't deliver cures without that intel, without that research. So we'll be talking about that today. So this gives you a snapshot of how efficient our partnering system can really make 4 days. So you can have literally 30 meetings, which is what our university averaged last year without traveling around the world. So we're in year 2 of a specialty area that's actually sold out already. It's on the floor. It's just really exciting. So we're going to have some really important universities, hospitals, research institutions. And here's just a snapshot of the local universities from Boston, and we've been working closely with them, some of them on our steering committee, to make sure that this event is relevant and pertinent to both academia and industry. So you can check out that listing online. And then following the presentation, if you're interested in what that could mean for you next year, I'd be happy to answer any questions. So back to the academia footprint, we want to make sure that we're speaking to the younger generation. So we're offering what's going to be a free student day. So we have a lot of information online that's available around this, and we're going to be running a blog series about students telling their story and what they're looking for as they start their careers, and looking for advice from mentors who are established in this sector. So real quick, I wanted to make sure I covered our business development fundamentals courses. So these are trainings that we've offered for a number of years. They're very handy in that you walk out with a plan. You get smart very quickly, and they arm you with what you need. So some of the topics that they cover are financial modeling, value and licensing, contracts used in licensing, negotiation and communication strategies, the university technology transfer and its role in IP creation. I know that they go over some case studies, So I definitely recommend that you view online. So we have a business development fundamentals course, and then we have a boot camp as well. And this is a 3-day course that we've offered, or sorry, 2-day course that really walks you through what the tools and tricks that you need to transform your technology and your idea really into a viable company. So we're going to be talking a lot today about commercialization and all the partners that you need along the way. So definitely check out that listing online. I already mentioned our tech transfer, our translational research track. So we have two sessions confirmed, and I think we'll be adding a few more. So we're about at the 15-minute mark. So I wanted to first introduce Hassan, who comes to us from Johns Hopkins. So Hassan, if you would introduce yourself and talk to us about what your main focus at Johns Hopkins is.
Sure. Thank you very much. So, hi, everybody. My name is Hassan Naqvi. I am an associate director in the tech transfer office at Johns Hopkins Technology Ventures. I wear a couple of hats here in the university. One is on the out-licensing side of early-stage technologies, which I'm sure most tech transfer functions are familiar with. The other hat that I wear is on the business development and corporate partnership side. So that is us reaching out to commercial partners and bringing them into the institution to do research collaborations, sponsored research, run their clinical trials in our hospitals, et cetera. In terms of what we're looking for at Bio is really a very important milestone and an important post, if you will, in our partnering continuum throughout the year, with JP Morgan and Bio being the two tent poles on the commercial side, and they're held up in place by other scientific meetings, the oncology meetings, ophthalmology meetings, neurology meetings. At Bio, what we seek out to do is touch base with our existing partners or people that we've been having conversations with, but more importantly, also to seek out new companies and new commercial partners and discuss different ways that we could collaborate with them, either through the licensing of our technologies or through research collaborations and sponsor research.
Fantastic introduction, and thank you. I know that you've been attending the convention for a number of years, so I very much appreciate your insight. So we're going to move on and introduce Sunita.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Erin. I'm Sunita Malhotra, Director of Search and Evaluation for Academics at AbbVie. My focus within AbbVie is to build relationships with academic institutions, specifically tech transfer officers, then with nonprofits, all the industry liaisons, etc. And then I also scout for opportunities that are aligned with our key therapeutic areas. I have been attending Bio since 2015 now, and this is going to be my fourth Bio really. And all I can say to the first-time attendees, you have done a great decision by deciding to come and attend this meeting. It keeps on getting better with every year. So from a company perspective, at a holistic level, we are looking for partners who can help us deliver on our mission to develop new therapies that can have a remarkable impact on patients' lives. And specifically, we are looking to establish collaborations across the continuum of drug discovery and development. At Bio, since there's a strong presence of policymakers from across the globe, we also meet with a lot of government officials from different geographies that we operate in. We are also looking for new venture investment avenues, and last but not the least, also recruit new talent, from this particular meeting where there is global presence of individuals.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for that. And I know that we'll probably get a lot of questions for you from our attendees on the webinar. So then, Steve, with Autumn, if you would go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, everybody. My name is Steve Susalka. I'm the CEO of Autumn. For those of you that don't know, Autumn is a nonprofit association composed of about over 3,000 technology transfer professionals. Our association is focused on supporting and enhancing technology transfer globally. We do that basically through 4 main pillars: education, professional development, partnering, and advocacy. Our members are composed of thousands of decision makers at hundreds of institutions around the world, including universities, research institutions, and teaching hospitals. Actually, you're going to get a twofer with me on the call because prior to this role, I was in the technology transfer profession. I worked at Wake Forest for about 10 years, and I was at the University of Virginia prior at their tech transfer office too. So I can provide perspective from both the association perspective as well as from tech transfer perspective.
Fantastic, thank you. So I think the first question that I'll ask for Hassan, I know that you have specific kind of ways to approach how you prepare for the convention. So I know you talked a little bit about your focuses, but specifically, can you talk to the audience about how Johns Hopkins prepares really for a few months and afterwards, obviously. So if you would give that perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. So for us, the main focus is to introduce ourselves to the bio membership as an academic partner, preferably an academic partner of choice for them, whether that's from the licensing side or if that's from the research collaboration side. So we approach it in kind of a three-pronged way. So the first prong is social media, publicizing out there on social media via Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn and even on YouTube that we are going to be present at Bio. We're looking forward to meeting with companies and collaborating with them. The second prong is more targeted emails out to companies that we might not have met before or met after a long time, just reintroducing ourselves, who we are, the space that we occupy within the institution, which is out licensing and seeking out partners. And then the third prong is through the Bio One-on-One Partnering platform itself, which is to reach out and schedule those meetings and request those meetings through that partnering platform. The reason that we do this is we've been very fortunate in the past 2 or 3 years that I've been associated with Johns Hopkins. We've had a very full meeting schedule, so oftentimes the outreach helps in setting up informal meetings, if you will, on the sidelines, either at the receptions or on the exhibit floor, or even during one of the sessions or one of the lunch breaks.
That's great perspective. Thank you. So I think to piggyback on that, Steve, you had mentioned some other ways that you meet with international groups, and also I think you had an anecdote about a serendipitous moment at the convention, if you wanted to talk about that.
Sure, yeah, so many actually. In terms of international members, so Bio is such a gravity well for technology transfer professionals that it's a great opportunity to connect with both past colleagues, old colleagues, and new ones as well. And we at Autumn have really used this as a great opportunity for us to interact with the various international delegations that are sent to Bio. It's a great opportunity to meet with very high-level people, especially given Autumn's focus on supporting and enhancing technology transfer globally. It is an ideal opportunity for us to meet with decision makers worldwide to help support a very nurturing technology transfer ecosystem. So that's been really successful. You mentioned the anecdote. So, this should come as no surprise to those of you that have been there before, but for those of you that haven't attended, it can be initially overwhelming in terms of the number of people that are there. There are very few conferences, with the exception maybe of a couple of major scientific conferences, that have this many attendees. So you are just constantly networking. And one of the things that I'm really careful about is I'm always scanning badges. And actually, when I was at Wake Forest, I was, of course, set up a ton of meetings, and I really encourage each of you to do the exact same thing. You're going to get overwhelmed unless you've got your plan for how you want to address the various issues and goals that you want to pursue. But along that way, I actually had one person just didn't show up for a meeting, which frankly was a nice breather in the middle of a long day. Turns out I caught that guy in an elevator, just him and I, going up to the same hotel in the same hotel. So it was a great opportunity to actually continue that conversation outside of the normal one-on-one partnering. But again, I really encourage you guys to focus on that.
That's fantastic. Thank you for your insight. I think I'll ask the next question to Sunita. Obviously, AbbVie is a tremendous partner and kind of visionary that we always have at the convention, also the sponsor of our partnering system. So, Sunita, if you would talk about AbbVie's specific approach, how you prepare, and how you navigate the partnering system as a team.
Oh, absolutely. So, we also have multiple objectives to accomplish at this particular convention. So first and foremost is to identify new pipeline opportunities, for licensing or potential collaborations. Then also build relationships, as I mentioned earlier. Then promote the AbbVie partnering capabilities, really, as well as promote our brand. So to accomplish all of those objectives, we start preparing months in advance. And it's really a large cross-functional team that comprises of search and evaluation, the function that I am part of, then our business development acquisitions team, which is kind of rolled into our corporate strategy office. Our AbbVie Ventures is another kind of group that participates in this. Alliance management is another group, for all the ongoing alliances. And then people from government affairs, from our legal team, from our technology licensing collaboration group. So there are multiple cross-functional groups that work together to kind of, meet all those objectives. We start reaching out to potential partners actually, proactively, and especially as soon as the partnering forum opens for scheduling. Each one of the attendees who are planning to attend Bio from AbbVie will start kind of proactively looking for newer opportunities, in one way or the other. And then on the other hand, we also receive a large number of meeting requests, and those meeting requests are in hundreds. We have a central kind of review and triaging process kind of established for that has been going on for many years. So every week the entire team will meet and look through the incoming opportunities, and then whosoever is kind of suitable for that incoming request is assigned to kind of deal or interact with that company within the partnering system on one way, and then also help schedule that meeting. And obviously, we cannot kind of meet all the hundreds of requests that come in, so we have to do some few declines also. I mean, rest assured, each and every request that comes in, it is looked at and it is responded to until the very last day of the meeting.
That's fantastic. So do you, from AbbVie's perspective, what kinds of people are you looking to meet with? Or has that kind of changed over the years, or what kind of attendee base are you seeing within the partnering system?
So, again, it depends kind of, who you are within AbbVie. And so we have attendance right from our executive leadership to all the vice presidents for different functions, a lot of senior directors, people who are subject matter experts in their given area. So most of us kind of, are focusing on doing peer-to-peer meetings, and we also attend networking events kind of, that are suitable for each of the attendees. And specifically for me, because my focus is on academic institutions, I'm going to meet with a lot of kind of ongoing tech transfer officers where we have ongoing conversations, where we are reviewing opportunities, and the conversations have progressed, since we met last. And then obviously there is a push to meet some of the new tech transfer offices that we haven't established contact yet.
Thank you for that. That's really helpful. So the next question is for Hassan. If you could answer kind of the same question as far as who Johns Hopkins is looking to meet with and how you kind of vet the requests that come in.
Sure. So for us, the primary focus is commercial partners, whether that's potential licensees or collaborators on the research side. Hand in hand with that, there's also, and it's become more of a focus, I guess, in the recent past, is folks who would help with the research. So I'm talking about the CROs. So just to give you an example, CROs are important for us, not just from a corporate research and corporate partnership perspective, but a lot of times from a research grant perspective. So a couple of years ago, NCATS came out with a drug repurposing program, and they had designated a list of CROs to work with and do some of the preclinical and clinical work with. And we met with them, with my then employer at that time. We met with the CROs at Bio on the exhibit floor, had some preliminary conversations, which led to us successfully getting a couple of grants for repurposing from the federal government. So it's a mix of all these little pieces in the broader puzzle that makes for a successful research collaboration. 90% of that, of course, will be companies, potential partners, whether they're research sponsors or licensees. But I don't want to take away from the very important 10% as well that makes all of that possible, which would be the service providers and the CROs and such.
Thank you. And I think it's important that we mentioned that obviously you can find a number of the service providers in our partnering system, but we have zones specifically carved out on the exhibit floor around contract research, contract manufacturing, et cetera. A lot of partners that you can work with to kind of help your business move forward. I did want to bring a question to the group that has been asked by Melissa. And Steve, I'll start with you because I think that you'll be able to address this. But the question is, how much are meetings focused on individual technologies and projects versus alliance development?
So that's a great question, and that's really changed, it appears, over the years. So if you have a technology dead on for a particular company, then clearly you want to focus on that. But really, the movement has been towards a larger alliance, holistic corporate engagement approach. So I guess that's answering out of both sides of my mouth there. So if you've got a technology that is right in the wheelhouse, then definitely lead with that. And provide that information. Please take advantage of the resources available through MyBio and the partnering software such as links and uploads that help identify what the meeting's about. Because recognize that with 41,000 meetings, people are going to have to say no, and so don't give them a reason to say no. So be very specific about the goal. But then also, if there are particular areas of strength at your institution, definitely highlight those as well, because in some cases, those are even more important than the individual technology. So kind of a broad question, but I'd say both are of interest.
Thank you. And I wasn't sure if Hassan or Sunita wanted to elaborate on their perspective.
So I can go ahead. So I kind of completely concur what Steve said. I think knowing what technology you are trying to sell, matching that with the wants and needs from a company is extremely important. If something that is not aligned with our therapeutic areas, and that you are trying to sell to us or plan for a meeting, it's obviously going to be declined. So I will say, spend as much time as you can on doing homework for the targeted companies that you are planning to meet. Then only start reaching out. I think if you have not started already doing that homework, it's kind of late, but start doing that homework today.
Yeah, this is Hassan. I would agree with that. I think a lot of times companies and the descriptions for them and the profile that they put up, that's very useful. In addition to that, check out their websites and perhaps even do a Google search about them. So there are press releases or analyst reports that will come out, and that's very good homework for what they have done in the recent past, where their focus is, and of course what they're looking for. And to Steve's point and to Sunita's point, make it easy for the companies to say yes, which is by hitting all the needs that they have and checking the boxes for them and outlining the way it's of course hard to do that in just a one paragraph introduction to strike that balance, but it forces you to be very focused and be very succinct in reaching out to these companies and highlighting what it is that a university can do for them. And then when you go into the meeting, of course, be prepared to have the broader conversation as well. It could be that a certain company, let's say that Sunita might be looking for immuno-oncology, but they might not be so jazzed about one type of structure or one sort of functional group, and that's okay. That's what you might have, but having a broader conversation would also help the commercial partners kind of find out what other things there are at the university and how they could work together.
Thank you. Fantastic, and I love the specifics about what you need to build in your profile. I think that, like I mentioned earlier, that's been a key focus of on our kind of development side from our partnering system about all that you can do to tailor your profile, all the different kind of attachments and media that you can upload to really tell your story and be as comprehensive as possible. So on that note, actually, Sunita, another question regarding AbbVie. Is it really better once you're in the meeting, I think, to talk at a high level about the possibilities of, I think, a partnership, or go and do a deeper dive later or bring summaries? So what's kind of your advice for somebody that's coming in meeting with AbbVie maybe for the first time?
So if you're coming for the first time, I think, again, if you come prepared with the areas of interest that we are interested in, I would say then you can bring in specific kind of, assets that you have. I think doing that homework is always helpful. You can also reach out proactively, like, send your potential technologies or potential assets that are going to be ready by the time bio comes, to send now, hey, here's a preview of the assets that we have in our portfolio. Let us know what all would you be interested in. And we are pretty prompt in kind of responding to those kinds of emails. And then we can kind of pick up and we can say, okay, bring detailed information on these 5 or 6 opportunities, for example. And then we can have a meaningful conversation at bio about specifics. Actually, once you have that homework done, we can also bring in a lot of subject matter experts along with us, and then we can have a very meaningful conversation. In my experience, most of the newer interactions, though, at bio are meet and greet, introducing the company, knowing the tech transfer office, building that relationship and establishing that contact, and then the real work starts post-meeting.
Absolutely. Yes, and I know that there are teams at home base who are really helping with all of that follow-up. So regarding specific kind of outcomes from the convention or trends that you're seeing in how you're collaborating across academia and industry, I wondered, Steve, if you could talk about that, how things have changed and how you're collaborating differently today.
Sure. So I guess over the course of my career, it seems to have definitely changed from a licensing of a technology to a alliance of capabilities. And so I mentioned earlier kind of this idea of holistic corporate engagement. And so it's this idea that you don't look at a company as only a sole licensee for your most promising technology. Of course, that's definitely an opportunity. But there's a way, and it seems to be moving in this direction, to engage them earlier and earlier in the process, sometimes before an invention is even developed. So your particular institution's capabilities, resources, the people in your institution are very well known in that field. That's something to play up almost as much as your individual technology itself. The one thing that I just want to make a note of caution, I'm sure nobody here does this, but be careful not to overinflate what your institution can do. Every institution has its strengths, and really play up to those. If you don't have strengths, don't dilute the message by listing the 87 things your institution is known for. And focus on those handful of things that you really have a significant advantage on.
That's fantastic. Thank you. We are already receiving a few questions from the group. So I would open up this to the three of you. Marlon's question is, are there any tips specific to university biotech accelerators?
So this is Hassan. I can try and address that, though I'm not exactly sure what Marlon is looking for. So I've worked for a couple of institutions that have their own biotech accelerators, and I think that the tips for them really depend on what the ask is. What is the accelerator looking for? Are they looking for funding? Are they looking for companies to come and establish themselves? Are they looking for anchor tenants? Which one is it? If it is looking for funding, there is a fair number of investors, both institutional and VC investors, that show up at Bio, seek them out and talk to them about putting some funding into this accelerator. If the ask is for tenants, whether they're anchor tenants or otherwise, reach out to the companies. A lot of companies, especially the large pharmaceutical companies, bring a large group along with them that includes people who focus on academia, people who focus on industry, people who focus on M&As, as well as others. And I'm sure that there will be that's a great way of kind of finding out who might have an appetite to become a tenant. And if it's to look for individual tenants, startup companies, same thing, filter and reach out to them with the message and tell them what makes the accelerator special for them and why they should relocate to one accelerator as opposed to the other.
I'll also jump in, and maybe I'll answer this question a little more generally to also scoop in different groups as well. So, one of the great advantages of the biannual meeting is just this density of connections. And so everything Hassan said is exactly right. But one of the things we notice, at least within Autumn, is it's really comforting and helpful and instructive to have colleagues that have been through what you've been going through. So I don't know if your question also relates to reaching out through the Bio One-on-One Partnering or elsewhere, reaching out to those other university accelerators. Now, generally, you guys are not going to be competing with each other, and rising tide lifts all boats. So this idea of use that opportunity to meet with your colleagues from around the country or the world that also are engaging in whatever that particular initiative is, whether it's biotech accelerators or otherwise. But that's another thing to definitely take advantage of, in addition to the funding, the tenant pieces as well.
That's fantastic. Thank you. So I do want to mention that we're close to 15 minutes out, and I do want to make sure we open up the floor. So if you haven't already and you would like to ask a question, please go ahead and use that portion of the portal within GoToWebinar and go ahead and ask the question. It does seem that we have a couple more coming in. And I think this is in regard to small tech transfer offices. So what do you recommend for offices that don't have the bandwidth or personnel to prepare completely in advance of the meeting? So I will start and I'll ask Hassan that question.
Sure. So for the smaller tech transfer offices, or actually it depends on the resources. If there is a resource limitation, my advice would be to echo what Steve said a couple of minutes ago, is to really drill down and focus on what the university specializes in and go in for that. That could be select few technologies, it could be a couple of research capabilities, or some combination of the two. So concentrate on that and concentrate on that portion within the bio partnering. So there are hundreds of companies that show up. Select the companies that specialize in your technology area and make a connection with them and seek out new ones over there. Not only through the partnering would be primary, but also plan on walking the exhibit floor and introducing yourself. To Steve's point again, the great thing about bio is the density of connections that happens over there. It's biz dev folks, licensing folks, all kinds of people that show up. So that would kind of be my advice. And I would also ask Steve to kind of jump in because he worked in both in a large office and then in a smaller office as well, as to kind of what his best practices were at that time.
Yeah, happy to jump in on that. So, just to jump down into it, so you've got technologies, regardless whether you're a large office or a small office, you've identified some initial potential licensees. And so really just plug those institutions or companies into the database and set up meetings. Again, it doesn't have to be a ton of work, but it needs to be focused. It can't just be, AbbVie, I'd like to meet with you. It's AbbVie, I'd like to meet with you about a particular technology. Our institution has capabilities in X, Y, and Z. Now, that's not no work, but that's not a ridiculous amount of work. For a small institution, I think that partnering is really valuable in that you have the same voice as anybody else. And really, whether your meeting gets accepted or not is the strength of your message and the succinctness of that message and what you're offering. So that's a really positive thing. Something I've also seen, and we've done this before, and I'm sure it's probably a little late this year, but something to consider for future years, is many states have state pavilions. And so, we work through the North Carolina Biotech Center, for example. Working with a group like that and maybe chipping in to be a part of that at least gives you a base of operations. Since as a small office, perhaps you're not able to go the booth route, but it allows you to have a presence. Again, with 16,000 people, it's just a flood of people. So you really need to rise above to be noticed.
Yep, just to add to that, I will corroborate whatever Hassan and Steve said. I think doing a lot of homework upfront is extremely important if you're a small office, especially. I think targeting few companies that align very well with the assets you're trying to kind of put out there, that is very, very valuable. So spend few weeks planning on that, and then kind of once the partnering forum opens, then start scheduling those meetings is extremely important. Yep.
Perfect. And actually, a few of the things that you mentioned, I went ahead and pulled up a snapshot of what our exhibit floor and the Bio Business Forum looks like. So I just wanted to make the audience aware of this. And so, as I mentioned, we're expecting well more than 41,000 meetings, and about close to 85% of them happen in the green area, the Bio Business Forum. But to Steve's point, we do open partnering up to our exhibitors. So you very well could have meetings that are actually scheduled in exhibit booths. So like he said, as a sharee, you chip into the pavilion. We're going to have, I think, 53 international and domestic pavilions this year, and they do have partnering available to them. So it does help those small universities or startups that otherwise wouldn't necessarily have that budget. So I think that's a great point. We do have another question coming in. Back to the concept of alliance capabilities and mindset. Are there any new trends or innovations in how universities can structure this relationship between university and industry partners? An example he gave, and this is Justin, like sponsored lab space master collaboration agreements. So can Sunita, are you able to speak to that?
Yeah, sure. So I think in the newer trends, there are some holistic kind of collaborations that we have signed up, and a lot of information is available in the public domain. So some of, again, speaking to the strengths of an institution, for example, University of Chicago, we are doing some early discovery kind of projects and then some clinical trial component, So I think it's combining all your strengths into the package, I think, is important, and that is certainly one of the newer trends that is emerging.
Fantastic.
Also add to that, again, this engagement at an earlier and earlier time point. So kind of one example is a company that I met at a bio meeting. They weren't interested in a particular technology, and frankly, that's actually another point to make. Listen just as much as you talk, because the feedback that I got really helped design the angle we were going for, patent application-wise as well as commercialization-wise. I'm sure that's probably second nature, but it's definitely worth mentioning. This is not just you pitching, you being academia or the research institution pitching to companies, but it's also hearing the opposite side and perspective. That's been really helpful. Anyway, so this didn't pan out, but what we ended up doing was inviting this company onto campus, where we set up a full day of meetings with a number of different prominent scientists in areas of interest, provided a tour of some of our facilities. And that, of course, was pre-licensed to anything, but it sets the table and sets the stage for future either alliances or future deals down the road. So just something to mention.
Yeah, Steve brings up a great point. I think bio is the place to have that initial conversation. And to your point, perhaps listen more than talking, if that's possible at all. That's our MO on the corporate partnership side, is to have the preliminary conversation, figure out what the interest is, if that interest aligns, and if that does align, the next step is to invite these companies over for a day at the institution, where we can introduce our faculty, show them our research capabilities and the kind of research facilities that we have, and go from there. And sometimes it'll work out. Most times it won't in the immediate future, but you never know. A company can come back a couple of years down the line when there is further alignment or there's more of a need. So it's all about starting that conversation, listening to the other party's needs, and moving forward from there.
Thank you. So with only a few minutes left, I want to make sure that we have your kind of timely perspective on your goals, very specific goals. I know we've talked a lot about kind of broad perspective. So Sunita, as AbbVie continues to prepare, the partnering system unofficially is open. So if you register this week, you're going to have your partnering account created. So I know that you guys have been preparing, but are there any specifics that are timely that you guys are looking for? And what are you excited about as we head towards Boston?
So definitely. So, we are primarily looking for opportunities in our three key areas: immunology, oncology, and neuroscience. In immunology, we are looking to establish kind of strategic collaborations. We are seeking opportunities in core therapeutic areas of gastroenterology, dermatology, rheumatology. In oncology, we are looking for kind of to expand our portfolio in CLL, NHL, AML. So there's a whole lot of information that is available on our website. I would invite people who's interested in meeting with us to go and check that out. In neuroscience, we are looking for some new targets and tools and technologies in neurodegeneration and neuroprotection and regeneration space. So I will suggest that come and just review AbbVie website and look for that. And as soon as the partnering forum opens, all of this information is going to be updated, and just do a little bit of homework before you start sending the invites out.
Perfect, and I'll pass the same question over to Steve.
Great, thank you. So there are a lot of different things you could do to make for a very successful meeting. So first thing is make sure your profile's filled out, get those technologies posted. We've been focusing on the academic tech transfer offices on this call, but I know that we also have industry on this line as well. Another resource that might help you going forward is actually our Autumn's Global Technology Portal, where we've got about 16,000 different technologies that are keyword searchable. It's free. You don't need to log in. Just go to Autumn Global Technology Portal. Just type that in, you get there. But that's a great opportunity for you to identify those academic institutions that might have technologies in the field. So that's one thing to think about. The other thing in terms of timely, every year we, along with Bio, host an academic meetup. A afternoon reception at the exhibit hall. We're planning on doing that again. Details are forthcoming, and drinks are on me, so hope to see you there.
I love it. Yes, networking is very key, and we have a whole section of our website focused on networking, and we do have information about the academic meetup there. So Hassan, if you can talk about what Johns Hopkins is specifically focused on and what you're excited about. I think you said you've attended 10 years?
Yes, that is correct. This is going to be year number 11, so going into those double digits there with Bio, and it's been quite a change. So from our perspective, we focus on and we excel in oncology primarily. Ophthalmology is another area. GI is a third, and then general life sciences in general, we have a lot of expertise around them. And to Steve's point, Autumn's GTP is a great starting point for industry just to look at academia overall. If there is specific interest in working with us at Johns Hopkins, visit our website. Just Google either JHTV or Johns Hopkins Technology, and our website will come up. We have a technology publisher where we feature almost 2,000 different technologies in everything from life science therapeutics all the way to devices. And to follow what Steve said, make sure that the profile is complete on the partnering side for academics as well as for companies, because a complete company profile really helps out academics and potential partners figure out what companies are looking for, and in the same way, a complete profile on the academic side helps the commercial partners figure out what is it that we are offering and what we excel in.
Perfect. So I just want to say thank you to the panelists. I know we have a couple of minutes left, and I have a couple key pieces of information for everyone that's attending. You guys talked a lot about kind of the nuts and bolts of how to create a profile, how to be specific. So everything you need, especially if you're just getting started, is available on an April 3rd webinar. So if you look to your screen, I have some information on that. We encourage you to RSVP. Additionally, if you're more like some of our panelists and you've been doing partnering a while, we're going to offer a more advanced webinar on May 2nd. We'll be adding that to our partnering section of our website where there's a number of resources. So May 2nd, there's going to be an advanced partnering webinar, and we're going to focus on all the new search capabilities, all the new things that you can do within your profile. And there's a great collaboration function that's available. So you definitely want to check that out. And I did want to make mention of our registration rates. So we talked a lot about partnering today, and that, if you look at the registration grid on your screen, is that red area. And if you notice that we have special pricing with you in mind, we recognize, especially at universities, you might not have the budget. So what we're doing here is giving you essentially $500 off the partnering registration. So like I mentioned, partnering unofficially opened this week. It officially will open, and you'll get the email on Monday. But go ahead and register, and then to save more money, you really have to do that by April 2nd. And I think I covered all of the main key points. I absolutely want to thank Steve, Hassan, and Sunita. You guys were tremendous, and I thought the conversation went really well. So if you all, so thank you. And then on the screen is our sponsors. Obviously, we couldn't do what we do from an advocacy perspective year round as a trade organization, and you being the voice with us we very much appreciate what you contribute to make this event representative of the industry and all the emerging trends. So with that, I think we will be signing off. And if you have any questions, we have a lot of customer service that's here at Bio to help you with questions. You can email us if you have additional questions for the panelists. And like I said, I will be forwarding the presentation to all attendees after the call. So thank you to all the panelists, and wish everybody a great day and a great weekend. Thank you all.